Your phone rings, buzzes, plays, hail to the chief, whatever. And a lady in Peoria saw the jewelry box her second cousin on her mother's side bought at a craft show in Biloxi when she was down there visiting her great uncle on her father's side, and just has to have one. Congratulations, you just made a sale. Now you got to ship it to her. Hi, my name's Roger. This is Working at Woodworking Podcast, where I am here to encourage you to take your woodworking skills out into the community, fixing broken table legs, bent rocking chairs, maybe building a table or a bookcase here or there, fixing a scratch in a dining table from somebody who has just moved into your community from Baltimore. There is all kinds of work out there, and if you've been doing this woodworking thing for a while, or even if you haven't, but you want to develop your skills, well, that's what this podcast is all about, getting you from the amateur side of woodworking to the professional side of woodworking. So congratulations on that sale. You've done really good with those jewelry boxes. They've been selling very well, and you're smart enough to batch those out, saving time, increasing efficiency, and making some money with them. You've learned that building 7 at a time is the magic number. Why 7? Well, that's where you can get the most efficiency out of your process. You have listened to episode 20, 21, and 22, prototyping, tools for production work, and shop procedures. So you get your jewelry box, you make sure there's no scratches or anything, and you scrounge around to find a box to fit it in. The box you got the sandpaper in, that's a little too big, and the Amazon back box is, that's too small. I know, I'll go to the hardware store and scrounge around their back room. So you finally have a box, you get some newspaper, you shove it in there, you tape the thing up, and you take it to the post office. That means you've only made 2 trips to ship 1 package. You stand in line with all the other people standing in line, and you stand in line, and you finally get up to the counter, and you present your package. They weigh it, they look at the address, they tell you how much it's going to be. Jeez, man, this stuff is expensive. Well, you've been selling most of your boxes at craft shows, or people showing up at your shop. And this might be your first go-around with actually having to ship something. And it can be eye-opening and terrifying. There's got to be a better way. Hence, episode number 4, all things shipping. So there are 2 big problems with this scenario that we just ran through. Number 1 is expensive because you're paying full retail. You literally cannot pay more money to ship that box. Well, actually you could if you took it to a shipping store like a UPS store or a pack mail store. But even then, you're only making 1 trip. So that might actually be a better scenario than what we've already outlined. But there is a much better way. The thing we have to really concentrate on is lowering our expenses and increasing our efficiency. And to do that, we need to get our shippers lined up and get some software. Then we have to worry about our packing materials. We'll probably save the packing materials for another podcast, so let's dive into the first steps you need to take to avoid that horror show. You can't stand in line anymore. That's just not going to work. You need to drop your package off, or maybe have it picked up at your shop by having a label printed. You should be able to ship a package without talking to another human being. So the first thing you need to do is to sign up and get an account with the big 3. That's United States Postal Service, USPS, UPS, and FedEx. Start with USPS. Go to USPS.com. Nice website, well laid out. Just a kind of an inside thing. The USPS government doesn't actually own that website. They have farmed that out to a third party that has honestly done a pretty good job with it. So when you're talking to USPS.com, you're not talking to the same USPS.gov. Just keep that in the back of your head. So you go onto the website, and there's a little link there that you can click, open a business account, and you fill out all the information, and you are ready to go. So now, whenever you have another jewelry box to ship to Peoria, you can go onto your computer, type in the address, type into the dimensions of the box, type in the weight, boom, hit print, and you print out the label. I use 3M spray adhesive number 77, I think. I spray the back of the printed out label, just normal 8.5 by 11 paper, nothing fancy, and spray the adhesive on, let that sit for a few seconds, and slap it on the box, take it to the post office, and drop it off. You can't get it any simpler than that. Well, actually, you could just give it to your postal delivery person who comes by like 6 days a week. That would be easier. I've worked out a thing with my postal lady that I've never liked to leave a package out by the mailbox. I don't trust people. And so I made up this little cardboard flag that made out of an old USPS box that says yes. And I put that over the flag. And anytime she sees that, she knows to walk up the drive, and I have my packages sitting on a chair outside of the shop. She just picks them up, and it works out great. You can do something like that too. Really, really easy. Whenever you're printing the label, you can actually make a request for a pickup right there on the website. You need stamps? Order your stamps from USPS. Now, one of the great things about USPS is they have boxes. They will give you boxes to use their service. This is pretty cool. Now, there's a number of different services that they offer. You might see on the website Select. That means that you're a really big business and you're shipping hundreds or thousands of packages a day, and you're not listening to this podcast. And of course, there's first class mail, but that only goes up to 13 ounces. And the size is very, very limited. So we woodworkers aren't shipping with first class mail. What we are concentrating on is priority mail. This is the one where you can get the boxes, and if it fits, it ships, as they say. The priority boxes come in basically small, medium, and large. And it is rather expensive to use those, unless you're shipping something that is very, very heavy. Now, there are weight limits for each size box, but typically, unless you're shipping lead diving weights, you're not going to exceed those weight limits. But if you're shipping something relatively light in one of those boxes, it can get a little expensive. The much better value is something called regional pricing. Most people don't know anything about this, but if you go onto that USPS.com and do a search, you'll see the regional boxes, and they come in a ton of different sizes and different shapes. It's amazing the things that they offer for free. Did I mention that these things are free? And so there's certain size boxes that I have used extensively for years, primarily the regional A and B size boxes. And even the region A boxes come in 2 different sizes, likewise for the region B boxes. It's not a terrible idea that whenever you're prototyping something, consider the box size that this thing will fit into, and that could actually end up saving you some money down the road. If you shave like a 1/2 inch off of something and make it fit into the smaller box, boom, your profits go up. So if you're shipping a jewelry box in your region, like the Midwest, the upper New England area, the Southwest, you can really save some money. You will beat FedEx and UPS every time with regional shipping. If you start to ship something that is rather heavy, a long distance, you're going to lose. That's where the other carriers really come in. And there's just this really fine balancing act to find the lowest price per carrier. And it takes some trial and error, takes some experience, and of course just about the time you get one nailed down, they change the rates and you have to kind of, start all over again. So definitely check out USPS.com. They have very good tracking, usually 1 to 3 days delivery. They have return labels. These are really nice that you can print a label out to have an item returned from a customer to you in the form of a PDF, and you can email that PDF to the customer, let them print it out, put it on the box, and to ship the thing back to you. When would you ever use something like this? Well, this would come in really handy whenever you shipped product A to Manhattan when it should have gone to Palm Beach. And the product B that you shipped to Palm Beach was supposed to go to the guy in Manhattan. And you switched the labels on the boxes and totally screwed this up. Not that I have ever done this, but I've read about people who have done this. Oh yeah, don't bring up Christmas of 17. Ooh, that was rough. Oh, you can also get Saturday deliveries on USPS boxes, and that is really convenient for your customers. And whenever you go on vacation, if you ever go on vacation as a woodworker, you can go on and do a vacation hold on the USPS.com website. Very convenient. Okay, number 2, UPS, Big Brown. You need to go to UPS.com and set up your free account. Now, when you're setting these free accounts up, they're going to require some type of payment method, and you have a credit card, a debit card, and you just, that is designated for, payment of your shipping expenses. Now, honestly, I don't use UPS that much. When I do, I use their ground service almost exclusively. They are really good at getting large, heavy packages to distant destinations. That's something that USPS doesn't do very well. So this is where the Big Brown really starts to shine. Couple caveats. They're going to probably add a fuel surcharge. They are going to charge you a residential delivery fee. And don't even think about giving them a bad address, because they will punish you severely for that. So it's an incredibly good service, but you are going to pay for it. And they generally only deliver or move products Monday through Friday. So that kind of cuts down on the delivery time. But still, I can ship something across the country and it gets there in 4 days. So let's not complain too much. FedEx operates very much like UPS. You go onto their website, you fill out all your information, get your account set up, and you're in business. Now, one thing that is very convenient about UPS and FedEx, if you do any business-to-business work, like you're making, parts for somebody or prototypes for someone, very often they will ask you to ship using their account number. And so with both of these services, you can go in and there's a, little drop-down menu button thingy that you fill in their account number and the bill gets charged to them. A lot of times these are large companies that have negotiated really, really good rates, and they can have something shipped from you to them cheaper than it would cost you to ship to them. So they're saving a little money there. I have found that FedEx is a little more communicative. They have sales reps that will reach out if you have problems with anything. They are there. They can fix things, which, if you've been following the news, they found over 100 packages in a ravine in Alabama or Mississippi or something like that. So I do think they tend to have a little more problems down the road, but for the items that I ship to where I ship, I do find them to be the least expensive. Okay, so you have your account set up with the big three, and you have to ship a jewelry box to San Diego. You live on the East Coast. What's going to be the least expensive way to ship that item? You go on to USPS.com and you fill out all the information. You go on to UPS.com and you fill out all the information, and you go on to FedEx.com and fill out all the information, and I am exhausted just saying all that. And you figure out that in this case, UPS was the least expensive and the quickest. But you don't want to go through this every single package. Oh my goodness. I mean, if you're shipping like one package a month, you could probably do that. But if you're shipping one package a day, you're going to drive yourself nuts. There has got to be a better way. And this is where shipping software comes in. Now, you have probably heard advertisement for a lot of these shipping software companies. Stamps.com is probably one of the most biggest ones out there. Indicia is another company that you'll hear of. It's actually owned by Stops.com. And there's several more that we'll talk about. These online shipping software companies are a great service to we humble woodworkers who want to ship products to our customers, especially if you have an online store or an online presence someplace. Maybe you're selling on Amazon or on Etsy. Maybe you are using Shopify to build an online store. These companies will make your life so much easier. Okay, we can divide these software services into two primary categories: those that have monthly fees and those that do not. So let's take Stamps.com. They charge $17.95 a month, and that is the basic service fee that you're going to pay plus the shipping cost. Now, these are large companies, and they have negotiated with the carriers to get probably the best deals that you could possibly get. And so they're going to be making their money on the split between what they have to pay for shipping and what you're paying them for shipping. Plus, they're getting that $18 a month bump just to maintain everything and make sure everything works. Now, Stamps.com works primarily with USPS and UPS. So if you want to ship something with FedEx, that's not going to happen here. Now, the nice thing about using a software company like this is that if you are selling on Etsy, you can set it up so that when you make a sale on Etsy, that gets sent to Stamps.com. You get an email notification. You can go on to Stamps.com, go to your orders. There's that order from Etsy. If you really get into it, you can have the weight of the package, the dimensions of the package already pre-entered in there, and it will give you suggestions on how to ship that. It might come up that USPS is going to be $10 less expensive than shipping by UPS. And you can just click the USPS button and it prints out the label and, boom, Bob's your uncle. That's called integration. Whenever you can integrate one of the other sales platforms, Amazon, Etsy, Bonanza, Shopify, eBay, Squarespace, so on and so forth. That integration is what really makes this so amazing. You're not sitting there typing in an address that anyone who has ever seen me type can attest that it is painful to watch. And honestly, I'm going to screw it up. And instead of going to Manhattan, it's going to go to Palm Beach, and let's not dwell on that. You can also enter addresses via .cvs files. I just made a funny there. CVS is actually CSV files, separated value. But that's a little bit more of a pain in the butt, and typically I never mess with that. It is available on all of these shipping platforms. Now, every one of these shippers that we're going to talk about today always has some type of a special offer on here. Stamps.com is you can sign up for a 4-week trial. They will give you $5 in credit and charge you $17.95 a month. You don't have to enter a credit card, and everything is peachy and rosy. Some of the information, whenever you're researching these guys, is kind of buried. And if you just do a general search for stamps.com, what's going to show up on your search engine results? A lot of those are just going to be ads. And you'll see these review sites, quote unquote, that rate the top 5 shipping software platforms. And in essence, they are just this side of clickbait. They have an affiliate program with each one of those, and they're trying to get you to, click on one of them and sign up, and they get their affiliate. Not that that's bad, but I have found that a lot of the quote unquote reviews are not terribly accurate, and are more of a sales pitch than they are an honest review. So keep that in mind. Another very good shipping software company is ShipStation. They're based out of Austin, Texas. They have a starter program that you can ship 50 packages per month for $10 a month, which that's pretty reasonable. As far as integration, they integrate everyone. They're kind of like the Borg, including PayPal, which some companies do and some companies don't. They offer a 30-day free trial, no credit card needed, and they've been into business for quite a while, and they're a very, very solid company. Check them out. Indicia is a company owned by Stamps.com, I believe. They're not very transparent. Their prices are either $15.95 or $17.95 a month. I couldn't really tell. Their integration lacks Square and Squarespace. That might be a problem for some people. They never did answer a phone call that I've made to them. It also looks like they're only using USPS, and I imagine that they're probably a little bit more focused on mail services like letters and postcards and political processes. Indicia has been around for, decades, maybe even centuries. They are the old, Pitney Bowes type company that you would get the postage meter, and if you worked in the office, you always had one of these things, and they kind of took over that realm by going online. And honestly, I probably would skip them. Now, my personal favorite, the one that I use, is Shippo. They are one of the no monthly fee software providers. Now, you're probably going to pay a little bit more to ship packages with Shippo because they're not charging a monthly fee, but it is so much less than what you pay retail that I think it's still a good idea. And if you signed up for UPS and FedEx and have your own account, have what they call negotiated fees, you plug your UPS and FedEx account numbers into Shippo and you get those fees. And I actually had, I think it was a FedEx rep call me up and said, according to the way your shipping history, we can offer you the next tier in price break. And so that saved me a little money right there. And so by using Shippo, they're charging me 5 cents a label since I'm using my own accounts, which 5 cents a label, I am perfectly okay with that. The really nice thing about Shippo is that they offer a lot more carriers. They're just not working with UPS and USPS, but they're covering DHL and Canadian Post and just a whole bunch of people that I've never really heard of before. And you can limit which shippers you want to use. And so I've limited to USPS Priority Mail because I'm not interested in the other services, FedEx, and UPS. And whenever I have an order for a product coming in from Etsy, it shows up all 3 of the different carriers for ground and express and overnight and so on and so forth. And I can select exactly which service I need based primarily on price, but also speed. And it's funny. I think a lot of it has to do with where the distribution hubs are located. I was shipping a package to Utah and FedEx was like $25 and UPS was like $45, to the same address. And the only thing I can think of is that FedEx had a hub, a distribution center right there in that city where UPS didn't. So for UPS, that was a much further delivery than it was for FedEx. That's my guess. But I know that there's almost no rhyme or reason. You can't count on one service being less expensive than the other service because it depends where you're shipping your product to. So that's Shippo. I actually did apply to become an affiliate with them. And if that goes through, I'll put the affiliate link in the in the show notes. I've also used Pirate Ship. This is a fun company. I mean, they take this whole pirate thing to almost extremes. There's no monthly fees. They have good prices on UPS and USPS. They're just fun. I mean, check them out. I don't use them a lot. Every now and then, I'll pick them for a certain reason. I was primarily doing a test, of versus Shippo to see how they compared. And typically, their prices were pretty much neck and neck, and I've been with Shippo for so long, I just kind of stayed with them. But definitely give Pirate Ship a try. They're a lot of fun. Easy Shipping is one of the other free setups. They give you 25 shipments a month, and then they move you up to the basic program that costs $29 a month for, I think it's like 500 packages. And, 25 a month, that's a little bit more than one package a day for a normal work week. That's quite a bit. I'm not that high. It is kind of important to know how many packages you are shipping per week, especially when you're talking to a rep from FedEx or UPS. That's how you're getting lower prices. The higher your volume, the less you're paying. Now, the only thing with Easy Shipping that might be a problem for some is that on their integration page, they did not list Square. So that could be an oversight, or the web page administrator didn't get it added on or something. You could contact them to see if they actually, do have Square. Square is a major player, so I can't think they're dissing them. So that's kind of it for software. There's a lot of bells and whistles that go with these software services. Customer support really kind of varies. If you're paying a lot of money per month, you're going to have really good customer service. Like your customer service rep will have you over for dinner type thing. If you're on one of the free accounts, it's all email. They'll get back to you hopefully within 24 hours. Maybe. But, come on, it's free. So what do you expect? Branded labels is another issue that might be important to you. I think my labels actually say Shippo on them up in the corner. If you spend more money, you could have your own logo up in the corner of the label. I don't care. So just read through all of these and figure out what's going to work for you. And none of these have contracts, for a year, 2 years, 36 months, anything like that. So if you're unhappy with one of these, just quit. Just cancel it. It's no big deal. Also, in the show notes, I have links to everyone, and I'm using their root URL, their highest level URL, so that hopefully that avoids a lot of the sales funnels and things like that you get to with just a standard, Google search engine results. So probably the most important thing is to look for integration with your website or sales platforms like Etsy that you may have. If you want to pay a monthly fee and maybe get cheaper shipping rates or not, or you're not real sure about this, start off with one of the, feeless services and just give it a try. I mean, again, Shippo, Pirate Ship, I was very impressed with. The UX of the platform. UX means user experience. How does the website interact with the user? Some were not very friendly, user-friendly at all, and others were, fun. So that could be important to you. So that takes care of efficiency, I think. That should really, really streamline your production as far as getting the order in and getting the label printed to avoid standing in lines. Like I said, USPS, you can give it to your carrier. FedEx and UPS will come and pick the package up at your shop, but they're going to charge you for it. And look at the fees. Sometimes it might be worth it. If you're in the middle of a big project and you're trying to get this thing done, by Thursday afternoon at 4:30, it might be worth having them, charge, I don't even know what it is, $3, $4, $5, $6 to come to your shop and pick that package up. And you can also, do a drive-by. You're going to the hardware store and you have the package and, there's a UPS truck, flag the guy down. If you do that with FedEx, be aware that there are two divisions in FedEx. There's FedEx Ground and FedEx Express, and the two do not commingle. So if you give a ground package to a FedEx Express driver, he's not going to take it because he's going to a different terminal and he wants nothing to do with that. They also have drop boxes, but typically our packages are too big for a drop box. UPS UPS and FedEx have stores that you can drop your packages off. Again, there's kind of a line at a lot of those. I always like to get a receipt, although in like 20 years shipping things, I've never actually needed the receipt. Maybe it's just paranoia. So I tend not to use the store locations very often. I do have a pack mail store very near my shop, and I can have a USPS, a FedEx, and 2 UPS packages all going out, and I can take it to one location, pack mail. And I just take it in there, and they see that it's already labeled, they scan it, they weigh it, they print out the receipt, and everything is just peachy. I buy some cardboard, and I used to buy packing peanuts from them. So it was a good relationship, but that's what they're there for. They can be a drop-off site for you. So the only thing we need to talk about now is your inefficient use of packing materials. And we're going to save that for another program. We'll get into that. This is starting to run a bit long. Recommendations, again, I have all the links to the various software providers that I talked about in the show notes. Missed job. I had an email from a young lady who was getting married, and she wanted this sign made. And if you haven't been living under a rock like I have, you've probably seen these. They're like a handwritten script sign that says something like "Love Conquers All" or "Welcome to the Wedding" or something like that. And they're made out of, it looks like cardboard. She wanted one that said, "Pamela found her man." And you'd make these out of, 1/4-inch Baltic birch, if you could find it. And they can either paint it or hang it on a wall or hang it from a ceiling, whatever. And she wanted this thing 5 feet long. There's a lot of handwork there because I don't have a CNC, nor do I have a laser that large. And I suggested that she look on Etsy because there are people who are selling these things on Etsy for, I think, a very reasonable price who do have CNC or laser capabilities. So that was a missed job, but might be perhaps an area that you would want to focus on. I was very impressed with the quality of the work that people on Etsy were doing with these things. And the new feature, boy, did I screw up. I didn't think I was going to have one for this week. That's my goal, is not to have one this week, but no, I screwed up. Do you remember last week I was bragging about finding greenboatstuff.com where I was getting marine grade fasteners, silicon bronze, flathead straight slotted screws? Yeah, it took me 3 orders to get what I needed. No fault on their part. They were fantastic. But for some reason, I placed my first order and that went through perfectly fine, and I was out working on the boat, and I went to replace a screw, and I don't have any more of those. Oh, crap. And so I had to order, I ordered those. I even ordered a couple other sizes. I think they were like number 6. I ordered 1.25 inch, 1.5 inch. And so that was the second order. And then I went to work on the stem bands of the boat, and I needed number 4, 3/4. And it's, crap, I'm out of those too. So I'm just not smart enough to actually do a full inventory of the screws that I have and the screws that I will need so that I can do all of this in one order. And that's kind of the point there. I wasted a lot of postage and time going back and forth there. So that was my big screw up. Don't do that. That will cost you money. So I'd like to thank the special listeners that we have in Wellsville, Kansas. Really appreciate it. As well as those in Mackay, Queensland. That would be down under Australia. Really appreciate you downloading and tuning into the episode. There's affiliate links in the show notes. Check those out. And until next week, in which we'll be talking about actually packaging up and shipping your product, happy woodworking.